Let's talk about how to use the internet for your benefit rather than a time suck. Hi, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. We're going to talk about a problem that I have, and I've got a lot of feedback from folks they have it as well. And the problem is that time suck the internet becomes. Now, we have this problem that our bookkeeping, that our main communications, that just about everything we do is actually on the internet. And that internet becomes a window to everything from pornography to silly cat videos on YouTube to social media, which might be considered connections to friends and family. It also, there's demands like notifications, and all this stuff becomes overwhelming. Now, we're not going to talk about like porn addiction or anything like that. That's not my problem. The problem is I'll get online and I'll be working on something, bookkeeping, for example, and then I'll go check on something else. You know, it's that, hey, did I get that email I was expecting? And the next thing you know, it's an hour later and the bookkeeping's not done. Or the activity you intended to do is not finished. Now, it doesn't happen when you're out doing physical activities away from your computer. The problem from a psychological perspective is that your station, the place where you have that computer set up, is actually a multi-purpose, consider it like an intersection on a highway. Each direction of the intersection goes to the destination you desire, but when you're sitting in that crossroads, there's no way to get far enough down a certain destination so that you can't get distracted. You can't turn around. So, for example, if you had to do bookkeeping on the specialized bookkeeping computer that was in the room that you do bookkeeping, when you go into that room, it's not even connected to the internet, or maybe it's connected to the internet only to your banks, for example. That's all you could do, is because the entire environment into which you sit has a screen into a world that is only bookkeeping. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but people used to have things called libraries for reading and a family room for entertainment. And some houses even had a front room, kind of a foyer, or where you'd come in the front door, and there's a little room off the side. I don't know if you remember when you were a kid. My parents didn't have this, but I go to some of my friends' houses, and there was this room that was really fancy that nobody was allowed to play in. I know, me and my friends would sneak through it one time here and there, but everything was super nice. That was the room in which guests come in, and they're met. And the guests, that's where you would offer the guests some tea, or you'd sit down and have a conversation. It was a special room just for that. Now, older traditional homes still have these things, but most people are multifunctional. And that's what we're sold in society. We're sold a phone that is also a camera, that is also a web browser, that is also a text message, that is all these things. Now, I remember the days we had a bag phone and a pager on your belt. And after a while, you started looking like Batman because you had the pager, the cell phone, and then you had like just everything connected to your belt. Now, all that stuff has compressed, and now it's all in one device. I actually ordered a GPS device for surveying in the woods that has a FRS and a GMRS radio in it, and it allows me to carry one device while I'm out in the woods and maintain communications to base camp. I like to hike. I like to do outdoor activities. And so this gives me one device to carry instead, again, the Batman utility belt where you got 5 things on your belt. Some of the places I go where there's bear, I actually carry a pistol. So I don't want to have a pistol, a radio, and a GPS all on my belt. I'm not Batman. I don't need the Bat utility belt. But see, again, these things have challenges and problems. Now, it's good for industry to consolidate all of these activities in one. Vehicles today come with Sirius satellite radio. They come with a minimal AM/FM radio because the Sirius FM radio or the Sirius satellite radio actually has a cost. They have a promotional fee. So if you subscribe, the vehicle manufacturer is actually going to get revenue off of you using the Sirius radio versus the AM/FM radio, and so they don't bother with a CD player, they don't bother with a cassette player, anything like that, because it's now this beamed into your vehicle. Now that's great. I use Sirius satellite radio. I get unlimited number of channels, but again, this single function device transforms into a multifunction device because technology has gotten smaller, and there's also financial benefits of having a single channel to that customer. Now, here's where it becomes a problem for productivity. If you're not properly aligned with the outcomes that you desire, you step into a multifunctioning device, you're working away. You've got that work stream going, that state of mind that we talk about where you're single tasked and focused and you're getting things done. Then suddenly an alert pops up. Oh, geez, it's that email that you've been waiting for. Oh, my gosh. It's just going to take a couple seconds to check it. I need a break anyway. I'm checking the email. You're checking the email, and guess what? You got a notification that one of your favorite YouTubers has put out a video. Well, geez, it ain't going to take but 2 seconds. A lot of videos are only 5 minutes. This podcast is only like 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. You just sit down and listen to Justin's new podcast, and it's going to give you ideas and concepts that you can use. And there's a lot of benefit there, and the adrenaline or the serotonin starts kicking off in your brain because you know what? You saw on social media a nice set of whatevers. It looks like some cantaloupes that one of your friends just got out of their garden, and they look delicious. And boy, wouldn't it be nice to have some cantaloupe? And then you get up from the computer and you go have a snack from that nice, cool cantaloupe from your refrigerator, and you forgot what you're doing in the first place. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. I don't know if you can relate to this, but it's a common challenge that professionals have. And even worse is if you spend 8 to 10 hours a day in front of a computer, you start to have health problems. You start to have other challenges. So what we've got to do is reprogram our mind there's nothing wrong with the multifunctioning device. The device is neutral. What we've got to do is program our mind to set up the device in such a way that it advocates, this is very important, advocates and drives you towards the outcome you desire. Now, there are little software apps that can do this, and there are little tools, but it all starts with understanding how you use devices. My office space tends to get messy because I take physical notes at times because I can't always trust the computer is going to be up and running when I'm trying to take notes. And I often catch ideas. I forgot what Hemingway, I think, said that ideas are like little fishes. You have to spear them with a pencil or they'll get away. So I capture little ideas in notebooks and things like that. So I have a physical workspace and I have the virtual workspace working together for the outcome I desire. Now, you can use things like work journals. You can use things like time parting. So your day is broken up and structured so that you're focusing on specific activities. And then if a new activity comes up, you add it to a list of fill in the blanks. We used to do this when I did outside sales, is that basically in between appointments, we would send thank you notes to our clients so that the time was better utilized. And so in an 8-hour day, I could see 5 to 6 clients, and then I could probably get 5 to 6 thank you notes out, and I didn't have a lot to do in the evening. So there's different ways of reining in that multifunctioning device so that you get the better results. I'm going to give you 2 such ways that help you start realizing some of the addictive characteristics of these multifunctioning devices and how we interact with them. So I'm talking about the computer being like an intersection, and you have a lot of different choices about the directions you can take. I want you to visualize that intersection of straight lines leaving from your initial point. So if you choose to do bookkeeping, you're going to move from where you are to the end result, which is the books being reconciled. And there's a perimeter. There's no off ramps. There's no off ramp to email. There's no off ramp to YouTube videos. There's no beckoning of other services because you've turned off alerts. Now, there's many options in most operating systems to go on a do not disturb mode. Think about that. You're going to drive from point A to point B, and you're not going to listen to the radio. Well, you can listen to music. Soft music in the background can actually give you enough distraction to keep you focused on the one activity, but not allow you to do 2 activities. Because if you think about your brain, there's actually these little slots. And so each of these slots, you can do one thing in the slot. You can store something else in a register or another slot, but ultimately can do one thing. So we're going to use visualization on the destination we're going to, that outcome, and we're going to visualize it as having, there's no off-ramp. You decide to do bookkeeping, and for the next 45 to 90 minutes, you can even set a timer. You're going to go from where you are right now to bookkeeping. Nothing else matters. You're going to engineer your overall environment for no disruptions. Your phones don't ring. Your notifications don't work. And you're going to focus. Now, if something else comes up, you're going to visualize the next element, which is a pigeonhole. So one of those mail sorting devices. In some of my videos, you can see one in the background. And you're working on the uppermost pigeonhole, and that's where your bookkeeping is. And anything else that comes up goes into a different hole and gets stored there. So let's say the phone does ring and it's an emergency. Now technology is great. You can put family members on a list, and so their call will get through. And you want that call. I'm not saying ignore the people you care about. What I'm saying is you're going on a journey from where you are to where you want to be, and you're minimizing the amount of distractions. Now, if a distraction does come up, you can take that distraction, assess it. That means if the kid's calling and they want more time on the computer and you're simply going to unlock their time on the computer, great. You can do that. It takes three minutes. You're done. And then you turn off the phone. Because the probability of 2 disruptions in the time period is low from high priority individuals. And also you can tell the kid, hey, I'm going to unlock this, but I need another 30 minutes where I'm not interrupted. Is there anything else you need? I need 30 minutes uninterrupted to finish the task I'm working on. So you take, if it's something that can wait, you take that item and you put it on your calendar as something you'll address right after what you're doing, or during the in-between time, or you'll put it on a ledger on the side of your calendar that is basically queuing up the next to-do item. So if you got a call from your boss and they say, I got this huge project, hey, is this project important that I do it right now? I'm working on this other thing that you asked me to do. And they say, no, it's not important. Please get to it this week. Great. You put it on the this week list, and you get back on your right now list. So I don't have the time in this particular podcast to go into time blocking or outcome management or how you might manage multiple projects. The key to understand is that there's a very easy visual exercise that sees you at a crossroad with many options. I don't want to limit your options, but you make a decision to go down one of these paths that has physical barriers. There are no off-ramps if you're focused on the most important and valuable activity for your time. You drive forward to that 45 minutes, 90 minutes. It could even be less because you have a clear outcome of achievement that tells you whether or not you can move along. Now, when you get to that outcome, such as reconciling a particular account, then you can make a new decision. If you haven't already made a decision on your calendar, you can make a new decision to go through the same thing again. You're at another crossroads. Now, most of the time, the second piece of advice here is I find that my clients are highly productive. They reach peak performance when they have a variety of activities. So they actually work their calendar out where they have a sitting activity in front of a computer. Then they have a stand-up activity in front of something else. So maybe they're doing bookkeeping and they've queued up a bunch of filing, and then they're going to physically get up and go file those papers. So 45 minutes bookkeeping, 15 minutes filing papers. Now, bookkeeping is at different levels for folks. Senior level executives might just simply be reading over annual reports, preparing comments for their annual statement, and then they carry it down the hallway and hand it to somebody because it was faster to handwrite than it was for them to go ahead and do all the editing and typing. And so they give their feedback handwritten. They walk it down the hallway to their assistant or secretary, who then gets it to the person it needs to go to. They might scan it or whatever, but that walk is that break. So what we're doing is we're trying to use as many parts of our brain during the course of the day, but parts that are complementary to previous activities. And what this does is it gives you a mental break. I was reading a study about a week ago about how back-to-back teleconference calls actually mutes the brain's activity and gets you into a kind of a downward destructive pattern where if you have a 15-minute break between your calls, so you have about an hour of calls and about a 15-minute break and then another hour of calls, it builds in recovery time for your brain. So this could mean putting some do not disturb blocks on your calendar where you shift from interactive activities to very focused individual activities. Now, if you've got questions about this, I'd be happy to answer those questions, and I really want to help you overcome the challenges to individual productivity. I wrote a program about how top performers interact with the environment around them. And many of these people are regular folks just like you and I, but as they implement these methods, they start moving to senior level and executive positions because these are skills that unlock opportunity. These are skills that organize your environment for maximum productivity rather than the convenience of the manufacturer or the platform who wants to keep calling you back. Now remember, social media has monetized the user. YouTube monetizes the user. You are that user. You're sitting at a crossroads in technology where companies profit off of your attention. But the real truth of it is the only way you're going to profit is if you own your own intention and own your own attention. And we do that by designing an environment that advocates the outcomes that you desire. Now, if you want to be entertained, take your family to a movie. If you want to be entertained, there's ways of combining activities so that you can build those relationships that matter because you need the support, you need the relationship, you're not an island. And as you practice this visualization about being at a crossroad and making decisions about where you're going to focus your time and energy, you'll start being able to adapt that to sit down with your family and say, look, we're at a crossroads, and where do we want to go as a family? And so you can actually abstract this decision-making process and the pigeonholing process in order to help achieve more in your physical world. Now, this isn't necessarily about material wealth and riches. It's more about control over your own mind and the freedom of thought and expression. Because the world around you is constant. You decide to do bookkeeping and there's people running across this road and there's trees falling down and there's all these obstacles. The only way to remove those obstacles is to address them directly. And you know what, though? You don't have to address them directly right now. Tree falls across the road, you can imagine yourself leaping over it and continuing towards your destination and then deciding later if it's something that needs to be addressed. See, this is the magical thing about the traveling visualization. And I'll use this to wrap up. If you imagine traveling from Virginia to California, and California, you're going to go to the beach. Now, ignore all the governmental crap that's going on in California. You're going to go to Santa Monica Beach, and you're going to enjoy the sights. And it's going to be beautiful. It doesn't matter what the weather is at different points along your journey. You can establish waypoints and travel from point A to point B. You can decide different modes of transportation to get you there, which is the most effective way to get there. You can make decisions based on the monetary factors. If you fly, it's $900 round trip flight. If you drive, it's a multiple day activity. So the flight takes you 8 hours and $900, and then driving might be cheaper, might be $600, but it takes you a week. And now you can make that decision. This is really about giving you control to see the world around you, make a decision, and then stay on that journey. Your flight could get delayed. Your driving could get an area where there are no gas stations and you have to fuel in advance. This making of decisions becomes you in the driver's seat, you the navigator, rather than the outside world constantly drawing and demanding you. The world around you makes money off of your attention and tries to manipulate your intention in order to kind of pigeonhole into a method of behavior. These methods of behavior are beneficial to them, and they are literally farming your mind. With the visualization exercise and the adjustment for variations in your path, you're going to be able to start queuing up those unimportant things because you're working on the most important thing. You're on the journey from where you are to the destination of the most important thing. The unimportant things at the moment, they may not be unimportant in the larger picture. They get queued up, and then again you make a decision. So your child calls you and says, hey, I'm having a challenge right now and I need to talk to you, Dad. Well, you know that's more important than, hey, can I get some more computer time? Or, hey, Dad, I'm thinking about this weekend going out, do it with my friends. Hey, son, that's great. Let's talk about that at 4:30 when I'm done with what I'm working on right now. And then you get up from the computer and you go up and talk to the kid. A lot of folks are homeschooling their kids right now. There are ways of structuring your day so you can accomplish more and so that you can still deliver in the relationship side. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, when it comes 4:30, my boss is going to call. Well, you don't have to be there when your boss calls. You can turn in the work that the boss is going to find to be important, and then you're going to get up and put yourself on do not call. And when they come back, you can use the psychological elements that we talk about. And so you go up to take care of your kid, and they say, well, where the hell were you? You're supposed to be at your computer. I couldn't reach you. And you say, well, I had to take care of a very important family activity. Something came up with my family, and I tend to take 15 minutes to go ahead and address this very important activity. So you can even use language to reinforce the priorities that you're using in your life to get to where you want to be. Nobody wants to be extremely wealthy and powerful and alone. So again, the visualization helps you see the direction you're going in, and you see it with no obstructions. When the obstructions come up, you have a means, which is either a list or a pigeonhole system or a filing cabinet where you file off these items. And then when you reach your destination, you can open that file and you can make another decision to address activities. And yes, things will pile up. There will be things that you cannot get accomplished. There will be things that are not important for you to do. But all the important stuff, you'll be able to look back on 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 3 days from now, and see all the achievements that you've made, how much further along you are in your journey and your family's journey by using these methods. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. I want to thank you for listening today and taking the time out to be a part of this program. And I want to make sure that your questions are answered, because there are a lot of times that you're heading down that journey and a question comes up and you've gone and wandered around and spent like 3 hours on the internet trying to answer the question. Most of the time, if you ask the question, let it go, continue on that journey, you'll find out in the next episode I answer it. I might not answer it immediately, but somebody in my office will get back with you and let you know that we're answering it and that we appreciate the time that you've taken to invest in what we deliver here and the power of the application of what we're sharing today in your own life. So I also love to hear your success stories. I want to thank you for listening. I'm here to help high-income professionals, entrepreneurs, and other leaders in this world achieve more while transforming business relationships into profits guaranteed.